I want to talk about my Dodgers a little bit here. You know, it's just the last week was definitely the worst week of the season for the Dodgers. The 3-3 record is frustrating in and of itself because you're coming home to play a Rangers team that just has not looked great all year. Um, and they come out, they look great, 15-2 win in the first game. They look ready to go, right? That's awesome. And then the bats just come out flat, and you lose the next two games, 3-2, 3-1. The one thing that didn't bother me was the Pages base running mistake in the second game. I can live with a mistake of aggression. Like, I'm fine with it. He'll learn. But it's just like the bats have just kind of gone quiet really all week. And it's been this way for a little while. Like, the Yankees series was a nice little breath of fresh air, but the last few weeks, like, I would describe the Dodgers as flaccid. They're kind of just going through the motions, and it's not a whole lot of fun to watch. We'll get to the injuries because that's what took this week from being like kind of a slog to being horrendous, is obviously the loss of both Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Mookie Betts, who have been two of the most impactful players in baseball over the last couple months. So obviously those are big blows. That being said, the Dodgers are a talented enough team that like expectations don't really change. This is not the kind of situation where all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, it's okay if you let other teams back into the division race now. Like, oh, it's okay. No, there's too much talent on that team. Expectations are still to win 100 games. Go find a way to fucking do it. Like, so, I mean, it is what it is. It sucks. I'm glad both guys are going to be back for the end of the season. We'll talk more about that as we get along here.
Yeah, no, and honestly, you're right about the Dodgers not really losing much ground. They're 8 games up on the Padres and 8.5 games up on the D-backs and the Giants right now. Also, the division is theirs. I don't like, unless there is an unforeseen collapse incoming, I just don't see it. The division is going to be there for theirs for the taking.
Yeah.
The issue really is that like this was already, and this is kind of the problem that I see, right? And let's actually transition this into our first out. We'll give you a score update after the first out, just because I think this kind of segues right in. But this was already a team that has kind of found a little bit of inconsistency when it comes to their offensive production. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani's having a great year. Freddie Freeman is starting to pick it up a little bit. But Mookie Betts was really, and this was obviously expected. He's a phenomenal player, perennial MVP candidate, whatever. He's obviously one of the more productive players. Losing him for an extended period of time when you're already struggling to find some consistency with the bats, I mean, that's going to hurt a little bit. This might be like a little bit of urgency to be like, okay, let's see if we can fill the void on the exterior market here.
Yeah, I think, if you want to look for a silver lining, I think the Dodgers have been coasting a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And this type of shot across the bow is the type of thing that like can maybe galvanize a group and get a little more want to out of them, a little more fight out of them, which I'd like to see. The thing that's just so frustrating as a Dodger fan is like you look at the list of players that are missing right now. I'm just going to read it to you. And not all these guys are massively impactful, but like this is who's currently on the injured list for the Dodgers. Ryan Brazier, Connor Brogdon, Tony Gonsolin, Brusdar Graterol, Michael Grove, Kyle Hurt, Joe Kelly, Clayton Kershaw, Dustin May, Bobby Miller, Emmett Sheehan, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Mookie Betts, and Max Muncy.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a lot of impact players on that list.
That's more war on that list than about half the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are just guys that are missing. I mean, from a pitching perspective, you've got a rotation there. We've talked about this, but like Gonsolin, Kershaw, May, Miller, Sheehan or Yamamoto, right? I mean, that'd be one of the best rotations in baseball, and they're all hurt, right? So it's frustrating, right? It's like, especially from a pitching perspective, like Mookie getting hurt is just one of those freak things where it's like, all right, I mean, guy gets hit in the hand, breaks his hand. At least he's going to be back for the end of the season. I feel for him because he was like in the MVP conversation, but I think he'll be okay. The pitching is just like, guys, like, can we keep somebody healthy? Just like one guy, maybe.
Right. So what was Yamamoto's exact injury, or do we not know that yet?
So it was reported tricep soreness.
Okay.
That's what was reported after he left the game after 2 innings.
Yeah.
And after the game, Yamamoto said, "I'd been feeling that tricep soreness for a few days." And
They
that
never report it right away. Pitchers never
well,
report it right away, dude.
but apparent from what I understand, it's the reason they bumped his start back a day. So like the team knew
Okay.
it.
Okay. Yep.
And then he gets pulled out of the game, and they don't run any tests to find any issues with the rotator cuff until after he gets pulled out of that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I have a little bit of an issue. Is it's like, guys, like this dude you just gave a gazillion dollars to and is pitching amazingly is telling you that he's nursing something. Like, why don't we check in on that as soon as we hear it, instead of sending him back out on the mound? So that was a little frustrating, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, I mean, at this point, it feels like I just hope Tyler Glasnow can stay healthy.
Yeah, right.
At this point, it's him, and hey, Gavin Stone's been a great piece. If you'd have told me preseason that the rotation was going to be like Glasnow, Stone, Paxton, and like I guess maybe we'll call back up Landon Knack if he's healthy. I don't even know who's healthy, man. It's just a mess.
Yeah. I think, like, here's the thing, and this is just from my perspective, right? I think that the Yamamoto injury, as far as like filling the gap, is going to come a little bit easier to the Dodgers than filling Mookie Betts' hole, right? And it's just because like the Dodgers really have two legitimate avenues that they can feel pretty good about. And it's because like they can go out and find some middle of the rotation starter that can fill a gap, right? Yamamoto's an ace type pitcher, or at least he's been pitching that way for the last, couple of months.
Yeah.
But you can find a guy that can just eat innings and kind of take that spot on the market. But also, the Dodgers are also very, very good, like we've talked about several times, at developing guys and just getting them ready in a pinch. Like they can just do that, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'm really worried about the production that you're going to get out of Yamamoto's spot. I would be maybe worried about Yamamoto himself. Like rotator cuff injuries linger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those are injuries that can last a long time. This is a young kid. You know what I mean? If he's already seeing trouble in his shoulder and he's 25 years old or 26 years old, like that's something that is going to have to now you're going to have to monitor that for the rest of his career. And he's already that's the troubling part to me, is that this is happening so early, Dalton. And he worked a lot of years in Japan, but like you said, they signed him to it. He was given the largest contract ever given to a major league pitcher. And 3 months into his major league career, he's already on the injured list for some sort of period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are two ways to look at it, because it's frustrating, and what you're saying is true, but it's also not unique. I mean, it's basically name a pitcher who's not dealing with injuries. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Year out. So it's not shocking. The way I look at it is I'm glad that he's good, that he should be able to be back at some point this season. What I don't want the Dodgers to do is rush him back in any way, just like how I don't think he should have been on the mound on Saturday if they weren't sure that he was good.
Yeah.
I want them to take their time with him, treat him like an asset that's going to be around for a decade, because that's what you signed him to be.
Right.
And I think that they will. It's just a bummer, talking about the Betts injury too, because that one's obviously a little more just like a freak injury.
Yeah.
I think it reminds me a little bit of the Seager injury a few years ago, when he went down and the Dodgers just said, okay, screw it, we're going to go get Trey Turner. I think we're going to see the Dodgers be aggressive and go get a big name bat. Now, Dodger fans are talking a lot about Luis Robert. That would obviously be fun. He's a crazy talent, but Luis, just knowing how the White Sox negotiate, they're going to ask for the entire roster for Robert.
Yeah, right. Say goodbye to Andy Pajes if you want a Luis Robert, dude.
Look, it is what it is. You're going to have to give up guys to get guys. I think it makes more sense to go after a shortstop, and the name
Yeah.
that keeps popping into my head is Bo Bichette,
Yeah.
because it just seems like the Blue Jays are going to be willing to deal him, and I think he'd be a great fit in that lineup. Obviously, he struggled a little bit. Maybe get him at a discount because of that. But that's one name that I would look at for the Dodgers.
Yeah. Yeah. Bo Bichette, I think, is an interesting name. Like you said, he's obviously cross league. There's not much, you don't really have to worry about them worrying about trading him to you. That's one thing. 629 OPS so far this season. He's really struggled. So, I mean, and the Dodgers, I guess, really would have to gauge what a trade like that would look like. And I think that you don't pull the trigger on that unless you're getting him at a discount. Because so when is he a free? So he's a free agent in 2026. So you wouldn't. It's not a rental piece. You'd have him for another year.
Yeah, you'd have him for a couple of years, but the thing about that with Betts is like I don't think the plan is Mookie Betts to be a long term shortstop anyway.
Yeah.
And I think if you add a guy like Bichette, there's always like, okay, well, hey, maybe Betts eventually moves back to second base if Gavin Lux doesn't ever figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Betts moves back out to the outfield if we don't have a great option yet. Like I think the nice thing is Betts' versatility allows the Dodgers to kind of add where they feel like they need to add down the line. But I definitely think they need to do something. The name preseason was Willy Adames, but the Brewers are playing too well. I don't think they would consider anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see what they do. I just at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Dodgers are going to be really active. And hey, man, it's June 17th. Like we're mere weeks away from like trade deadline talk. Which
I know. That's going to be fun. I like trade deadline stuff. We're going to have to figure out something to do for the deadline, but yeah, I'm sure. But I'm just trying to like think of names here. Like I'm trying to think of like shortstops that could, and I'm doing this off the top. Like I didn't come into this with like a list of names that they could go get. I'm literally trying to come up with names off the top of my head. I would imagine, like, as a Dodger fan, I would imagine that you'd want to stay away from somebody like Frankie Lindor, right? I mean,
at the right price, I'm open to it. I at the right price, I'm open to it. Like some of the names that pop into my mind are I just don't know if these teams would be willing to deal with Dodgers. Like the Rockies,
Ezequiel Tovar.
But he's young, right? I think they still have a few years control at him, so I don't think the price would be low at all. I don't know. It's the problem is that so many teams are kind of sitting in that middle ground.
Yeah,
where,
right.
They're not ready to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say the Cubs slide and slide and slide. Do they want to move Dansby Swanson's contract?
Yeah.
I get it. Right. But, like, I don't know.
Right.
CJ Abrams from the Nationals would cost an arm and a leg. I'm just thinking my way around the league. Like, there aren't a ton of options.
No,
to me, Bichette is the one that, like, it just kind of sticks with me as the one that makes sense. But who the hell knows?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, hey, you could go take Javier Baez off the Tigers' hands if you really want to.
I mean, we already have Chris Taylor. So.
Oh man, but yeah, it really, and not to sound really insensitive, but it really kind of sucks. It sucks for the Dodgers, dude. There's just no other way to put it. It sucks. Sucks.
Nobody's gonna feel bad for the Dodgers, and nobody should, man. There's enough talent in that clubhouse that there's no reason that they should not be in a prime playoff position by the time these guys get back. So,
and I think that's everybody shares in your sentiment when you say that too. Like everybody is saying, like, well, fuck you then. Like that's what you get. You know what I mean? You spent whatever 1.5 billion on Ohtani and Yamamoto combined. This is what you get. But yeah, it sucks for the game though too. It really does. Like losing Mookie for that long and losing Yamamoto. I mean, as much as I hated to watch him pitch because I wanted him so bad in the Bronx, like he's a fun guy to watch. These are two guys that are very, very key to the success of the sport. So,
yeah, I mean, the thing is, Yamamoto's been what he was advertised to be. Like,
Yeah.
6-2 with a 2.92 ERA, 84 Ks in 74 innings, a WHIP sitting around 1. Like, and that's all with like a lot of people like, oh, you take out that first. That's all with that first start included. I mean, he's been one of the best pitchers in the National League. It's a bummer, but it is what it is. Keep going.
Is what it is, man. Is what it is.